Right now, Tropical Storm Lala is barreling toward Hawaii Big Island, and it is getting stronger by the hour. The governor has already declared a state of emergency. Shelters are opening and schools are shutting down. But here's the part that has scientists paying very close attention. Lala is forecast to hit with 75 miles per hour winds, officially crossing the hurricane threshold. That is a big deal because in 70 years of modern records, no hurricane has ever made a confirmed landfall on the Big Island. Lala could be the first. This is not just another tropical storm. Something significant is happening. Today, we're going to break down exactly where this storm is headed, why it is defying the natural forces that usually protect Hawaii, and what this means for the 211,000 people in its path. No guessing, no dramatizing, just the facts, the science, and the real stakes. If you have ever lived through a hurricane warning, you know the feeling of watching the sky and waiting. What is your first move when you hear a storm is coming straight for you? We want to hear from you in the comments. Subscribe now because we are tracking this storm in real time, and we will break down what happens when Lala makes landfall. The 34 years without a hurricane landfall in Hawaii is not just a statistic. It represents an entire generation of residents who have never experienced hurricane-force winds. A person who was 20 years old when Iniki struck in 1992 is now 54 years old. They have raised families, built careers, and made decisions about where to live based on a sense of safety that history does not actually support. The last time a hurricane warning was issued for any part of Hawaii, the internet did not exist as we know it. Cell phones were the size of bricks. Weather forecasting relied on satellites that were primitive compared to what we have today. This gap in lived experience means many residents do not know what 75 miles per hour winds feel like. They do not know the sound of a roof tearing away. They do not know what it means to have no power for 2 weeks in tropical heat. The 34-year gap is not just a curiosity, it is a vulnerability. It means a large portion of the population has no personal reference point for what is coming. As of Thursday evening, Lala is sitting 555 miles from Hilo, spinning with maximum sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. Sustained winds are the average wind speed measured over 1 full minute. Gusts can be 20 to 30% higher than that. So while the official number is 60 miles per hour, individual gusts are already hitting 75 or 80. That is strong enough to snap tree branches, tear off roof shingles, and turn loose outdoor furniture into projectiles. The storm is closing in at 12 miles per hour. At that speed, the center of Lala will arrive on the Big Island in roughly 46 hours. That puts landfall early Saturday morning. The storm is also 765 miles from Honolulu. That means the entire island chain, all 1.44 million residents, is in the path of this system over the weekend. The Central Pacific Hurricane Center, the NOAA office in Honolulu that tracks storms in this region, has issued a hurricane warning for the Big Island. A hurricane warning is an official alert meaning hurricane force winds of 74 miles per hour or higher are expected within 36 hours. This is not a possibility. It is an expectation. They have also issued a tropical storm watch for Maui County, which includes Maui, Lanai, Molokai, and Kahulawi. A tropical storm watch means tropical storm conditions with winds of 39 to 73 miles per hour are possible within 48 hours. Governor Josh Green signed an emergency proclamation Thursday morning. That proclamation activates the Major Disaster Fund, which is the state's dedicated pool of money for disaster response. It also authorizes the Hawaii National Guard to mobilize. Shelters are opening Friday at 6 p.m., including at Ikuo Gymnasium in Kapau. All public school campuses across the state close at 5:30 p.m. Friday and remain closed through Sunday. Evening and weekend activities are canceled statewide. The Hawaii Emergency Management Agency is coordinating with the Red Cross to identify shelters in vulnerable areas. FEMA is monitoring the situation. The hurricane warning zone covers all of Hawaii County, which is the entire Big Island. That county has a population of 211,036 people. Every single one of them is under a hurricane warning right now. This is the first time in 34 years that any part of Hawaii has been under a hurricane warning. The last time was Hurricane Iniki in 1992. To understand how significant this is, you have to understand what has happened in those 34 years. Hawaii has been hit by tropical storms, but no hurricane has made landfall anywhere in the state since Iniki. And in the entire history of modern record-keeping, which goes back to 1950, no hurricane has ever made a confirmed landfall on the Big Island. Lala is forecast to change that. While the storm is still far out, its target is already clear. The Big Island isn't just big, it's a target. Hilo, with its 49,368 residents, sits on the east side of the island, facing the open Pacific Ocean. It is directly in Lala's approach path. Hilo is the county seat and the largest city on the island. It is also one of the wettest cities in the United States, averaging 126 inches of rain per year. The ground is already saturated. When Lala arrives, the rain will have nowhere to go. Forecasters are calling for up to 25 inches of rain on the Big Island through Sunday. That is roughly 2 feet of water falling from the sky in 48 hours. To put that in context, that is 67% more rain than Tropical Storm Iselle dumped in 2014. Iselle was the last tropical storm to hit the Big Island, and it caused $148 million in damage. The wind forecast is equally concerning. Lala is expected to arrive with sustained winds of 75 miles per hour. That crosses the hurricane threshold, officially making it a Category 1 hurricane. A Category 1 hurricane has sustained winds of 74 to 95 miles per hour. It is the lowest hurricane classification, but it is still powerful enough to damage roofs, snap trees, and knock out power for days. The 75 miles per hour forecast is 25% stronger than Iselle's 60 miles per hour winds when it hit in 2014. Even at 60 miles per hour, Iselle knocked out power to 19,000 people. It snapped trees onto homes and roads. It washed away sections of road with storm surge. It caused $148 million in damage. Lala's arriving 25% stronger. The storm surge is another major threat. Forecasters expect a 3-foot storm surge on south-facing shores. Storm surge is the abnormal rise of water pushed ashore by a storm's winds. A 3-foot surge means water rises 3 feet above normal tide levels. That is waist-high water rushing inland, on top of whatever the tide is doing. On the Big Island's south coast, communities like Hilo and Captain Cook are directly exposed. Hilo is one of the fastest growing communities in the state, with thousands of residents living within a few hundred yards of the shoreline. A 3-foot surge will flood roads, parking lots, and ground floor homes. It will push salt water into freshwater supplies. It will make some roads impassable. Flash flooding is the most dangerous threat. Flash flooding is sudden, rapid flooding caused by intense rainfall. It is particularly dangerous on the Big Island because of the steep volcanic terrain. Water runs off the slopes of Mauna Kea and Mauna Loa at incredible speed. It funnels into narrow valleys and gulches. A wall of water can appear in seconds, with no warning. The National Weather Service is warning that life-threatening flash flooding is possible. Roads will be cut off. Communities will be isolated. Emergency responders will not be able to reach people in the worst-hit areas. The Big Island has 211,036 residents, and many of them live in rural areas with only one road in and one road out. The last time the Big Island faced a storm like this was 2014. Tropical Storm Iselle made landfall in the Puna district on August 7th. It had sustained winds of 60 miles per hour. It dumped 15 inches of rain. It knocked out power to 19,000 people. Some residents were without electricity for 2 weeks. The damage totaled $148 million. Iselle was a tropical storm. Lala is forecast to be a hurricane. The difference between 60 miles per hour and 75 miles per hour is not just 15 miles per hour. It is the difference between a tropical storm and a hurricane. It is the difference between damage and destruction. Hurricane-force winds will tear roofs off homes. They will snap power poles like twigs. They will turn debris into missiles. The Big Island's power grid is already identified as vulnerable. FEMA recently approved $3.8 million to upgrade the energy management system for the Big Island and Maui. That funding was approved in April 2026, just 4 months ago. The work is ongoing. The grid was already on the critical list before Lala formed. When Iselle hit in 2014, it took down 19,000 customers. That was with 60 miles per hour winds. A Category 1 hurricane with 75 miles per hour winds could cause widespread, prolonged outages. In rural areas, repairing utility poles is extremely difficult because of the rugged terrain. Some communities could be without power for weeks or even months. But to understand why this is so serious, we have to look at history. Since 1950, only 3 hurricanes have ever made landfall in Hawaii. All 3 hit the same island, Kauai, not the Big Island, not Maui, not Oahu, Kauai. The first was Hurricane Hickey in 1950. The second was Hurricane Dot in 1959. The third was Hurricane Iniki in 1992. Iniki was the most destructive. It struck Kauai on September 11, 1992, as a Category 4 hurricane with sustained winds of 145 miles per hour. It caused $3 billion in damage. It destroyed 1,400 homes. It damaged 13,000 more. It killed 6 people and injured over 100. It knocked out all power and phone service to Kauai for weeks. The island was completely isolated. There was no electricity, no phone lines, no way to call for help. Residents had to rely on battery-powered radios and word of mouth. The average gap between Hawaiian hurricane landfalls is 19 years. Hawaii has now gone 34 years without a direct hurricane hit. That is nearly double the average gap. Statistically, Hawaii is overdue, but statistics don't cause storms, weather patterns do. And the weather patterns that usually protect Hawaii are not protecting it this time. Hawaii is protected by several natural defenses. The first is cooler sea surface temperatures east of the islands. Hurricanes need warm water to strengthen. The waters around Hawaii are typically cooler than the waters of the western Pacific or the Caribbean. The second defense is atmospheric stability. The air around Hawaii is generally stable, which suppresses the thunderstorm activity that fuels hurricanes. The third defense is a semi-permanent high-pressure system that usually steers storms away from the islands. That high-pressure system typically acts as a shield, deflecting storms to the north or south. Lala is overcoming all three defenses. The water east of the Big Island is warmer than usual. The atmosphere is less stable than usual, and the high-pressure system is not deflecting Lala away. Instead, Lala is being steered directly toward the Big Island. This is what has forecasters paying close attention. A storm that should have been weakened or deflected is instead strengthening and holding its course. The Central Pacific Hurricane Center upgraded the Big Island from a hurricane watch to a hurricane warning, indicating that hurricane conditions are expected, not just possible. AccuWeather is calling Lala a potential first hurricane to make landfall on Hawaii's Big Island. Scientific American is describing it as a rare tropical storm for Hawaii. Scientists are not using words like unprecedented casually. They are using it because it is accurate. The past tells us what can happen, but the present shows us what we're dealing with now. As of Thursday evening, Lala is still a tropical storm with 60 miles per hour winds, but it is forecast to strengthen. The waters it is crossing are warm enough to fuel intensification. The atmospheric conditions are favorable for development. The storm is expected to reach hurricane strength before it arrives at the Big Island. That means Saturday morning, the Big Island will experience its first confirmed hurricane landfall in recorded history. The timeline is tight. The storm is 555 miles from Hilo, closing at 12 miles per hour. That gives residents roughly 46 hours to prepare. Shelters open Friday at 6 p.m. Schools close Friday at 5:30 p.m. The storm arrives Saturday morning. There is no time for extended preparation. There is no time for second guessing. There is only time to execute the plan. The Hawaii Emergency Management Agency has been coordinating with county officials for days. The Red Cross is identifying shelters. FEMA is monitoring. The National Guard is authorized. The state is doing everything it can, but the state cannot control the weather. It can only prepare for it. The entire island chain is in the storm's path. After the Big Island, Lala will move toward Maui. Maui County is under a tropical storm watch. Tropical storm conditions are possible by late Saturday. That means winds of 39 to 73 miles per hour, heavy rain, and flash flooding. Maui is still recovering from the devastating wildfires of 2023 that killed 97 people and destroyed the town of Lahaina. The burn scars from those fires are highly vulnerable to flash flooding and debris flows. Water running off bare, burned slopes can carry mud, rocks, and ash. It can destroy anything in its path. The rainfall forecast for Maui is 6 to 12 inches. That is enough to cause widespread flash flooding, especially in burn scar areas. The Maui wildfire burn scar presents a specific danger that most mainland residents do not face. The Lahaina fire of August 2023 burned over 2,170 acres. That fire consumed nearly everything in its path, including the vegetation that normally holds soil in place. When rain falls on a burn scar, the water does not soak into the ground. It runs off the surface immediately, picking up ash, dirt, and debris as it moves. A single inch of rain on a burn scar can move as much sediment as 10 inches of rain on healthy ground. The 6 to 12 inches forecast for Maui means those slopes will shed massive amounts of material. Mud flows can reach depths of 3 to 4 feet in low-lying areas. They can bury cars, fill garages, and push through ground floor windows. The Lahaina area has already been through one catastrophe. The burn scar makes a second one possible with just a fraction of the rain that the Big Island is expecting. Residents in those areas know this. They have been warned since the fire that the first heavy rain would bring danger. That danger is now arriving. The rain then spreads to Oahu and Kauai by Sunday. Oahu is home to over 1 million people, including the state capital, Honolulu. The forecast calls for 4 to 6 inches of rain across Oahu and Kauai. That is enough to cause urban flooding, especially in low-lying areas. Honolulu has a history of flash flooding during heavy rain events. The storm drains are not designed for this volume of water. The entire state is bracing for what comes next. The big question isn't just about wind and rain, it's about power. Hawaii's grid is already on the critical list. FEMA approved $3.8 million to upgrade the energy management system for the Big Island and Maui. That funding was approved in April 2026. The work is ongoing. In 2025, Hawaiian Electric replaced 1,650 power poles across the state as part of grid hardening. That is a significant investment, but a direct hurricane hit could undo years of infrastructure work in a matter of hours. The Big Island's grid is particularly vulnerable because of the rugged terrain. Power lines run through dense forest and across volcanic slopes. When poles go down, crews have to hike in with equipment. It can take days or weeks to restore power to remote communities. Tropical Storm Iselle in 2014 knocked out power to 19,000 people on the Big Island. Some were without power for 2 weeks. Iselle had 60 miles per hour winds. Lala is forecast to arrive at 75 miles per hour. That is 25% stronger. The damage will be worse. The outages will be longer. The recovery will be harder. The Big Island has 211,036 residents. Many of them live in rural areas with limited access to emergency services. The county has 5 hospitals spread across the island, with the 2 largest in Hilo and Kailua Kona. If both are damaged or overwhelmed, patients will have to be flown to Oahu. That is a 30-minute flight. But if the airport is closed, that option is gone. The state has prepared for this. Governor Green's emergency proclamation activates the Major Disaster Fund. It authorizes the National Guard. It positions state personnel for response. The Hawaii Emergency Management Agency is coordinating with the Red Cross. Shelters are opening at 6 p.m. Friday. The shelters are equipped with supplies, generators, and medical support. But shelters are not designed for long-term stays. They are designed to keep people safe during the storm. After the storm, people will need to return to their homes. If their homes are damaged, they will need to find other options. The storm is also affecting the economy. Tourism is Hawaii's largest industry. The Big Island welcomed over 1.7 million visitors in 2025. Those visitors are being told to leave or shelter in place. Airlines have canceled flights into Hilo and Kona. Cruise ships are rerouting. Hotels are boarding up windows and moving guests to interior rooms. The economic impact will be significant, but the human impact is the priority. The state is telling residents to prepare for the worst. Emergency officials are urging people to have at least 14 days of food and water. That is a long time. But in a worst-case scenario, that is how long it could take for roads to reopen and supply chains to resume. As Lala continues its approach, the entire state is bracing for what comes next. The storm is expected to make landfall on the Big Island Saturday morning. It will bring 75 miles per hour winds, 25 inches of rain, and a 3-foot storm surge. It will be the first hurricane to make landfall on the Big Island in recorded history. The natural forces that have protected Hawaii for decades are not protecting it this time. The cooler waters, the stable atmosphere, the high-pressure shield, Lala is overcoming them all. The state is facing a storm that should not be happening, but it is happening, and the only thing standing between a disaster and a catastrophe is preparation. The contrast is stark. For 70 years, the Big Island has been untouchable. No hurricane has ever made landfall there. The island has been protected by geography, by ocean currents, by weather patterns. That protection has created a sense of security. Residents have built homes, businesses, and lives on the assumption that the Big Island is safe from hurricanes. That assumption is being tested right now. Lala is not just a storm. It is a reminder that no place is immune. The natural forces that have protected Hawaii for decades are being overpowered by a single powerful storm. The island that was once considered immune is now exposed. The data is already telling us what comes next. The storm is 555 miles from Hilo. It is moving at 12 miles per hour. It has 60 miles per hour winds. It is forecast to strengthen to 75 miles per hour. It is expected to make landfall Saturday morning. The rainfall forecast is 25 inches. The storm surge is 3 feet. The population in the warning zone is 211,036. These are not guesses. These are not estimates. These are the best projections from the Central Pacific Hurricane Center, based on the latest data and computer models. The outcome now depends on human action. Will residents evacuate? Will they shelter in place? Will they have enough supplies? Will they be ready? The people of Hawaii have been through this before. They have survived hurricanes, tsunamis, volcanoes, and wildfires. They know how to prepare. They know how to help each other. They know that community is the most important resource in a disaster. The state has activated the National Guard. Shelters are opening. Schools are closing. The government is doing everything it can. But in the end, it comes down to individual families. It comes down to whether you have enough water, enough food, enough medicine. It comes down to whether you have a plan. Would you be ready if a once-in-a-generation storm was heading for your home? Tell us your story in the comments below. Have you ever underestimated a storm, or do you have a story about a time preparation made all the difference? Subscribe for more breakdowns of the world's most serious weather events, and share this video with someone in Hawaii. It could help them prepare. The storm is coming. The data is clear. The only question is whether we are ready. In the end, preparation is the only thing standing between a disaster and a catastrophe. The data is already telling us what comes next. The outcome now depends on human action. And in Hawaii right now, that action is underway.